Hey, what's going on, DDO players? Axel here. So, today, let's talk about Epic Destinies. So, if you weren't aware, Epic Destinies are getting a pass soon. And the first look at that is supposed to hit Lamania next week. So, there's a lot I have to say on Epic Destinies because there's a lot of mechanics here with EDs that I've had a problem with for a long time that I think need to be changed and reworked, and some parts just taken out of the game. So, let's just talk about Epic Destinies and the things that I want to see changed, the things I hope that the developers include in this pass. So, Epic Destinies, they are, if you're not aware, the equivalent to the heroic enhancements essentially. They're essentially enhancements for your epic levels. Epic Destinies work a lot differently than heroic enhancements. So heroics, you just kind of get everything. Not the points, but you get access to all the different trees immediately. So when you're at level 1, let's say you're a human cleric, you can access the human tree, you can access all 3 cleric trees, and you can access any of the universal enhancement trees that you happen to own or that you unlocked. With Epic Destinies, this is not really how it works. So if you're a new character, or just a new character, maybe you're running an alt or something, when they get to level 20 for the first time, you can't actually access all the trees like this. So the way Epic Destinies work is, let's say you are a human cleric. So right when you get into Epic Destinies, you are going to have access to a an Epic Destiny in the Divine Sphere as your starting Destiny. So when you get started, let's say you start in Divine Crusader, you can't actually access the other destinies. So let's say when you're at level 20, you can't actually start putting points into, say, martial trees or arcane trees. You have to actually work through your destiny. So at first, you only have access to your starting destiny. So you've got to gain a certain number of levels in that epic destiny, so in the Divine Crusader destiny, before you can access the surrounding destiny. So the two that are surrounding it in the tree, as you can see here, are the Unyielding Sentinel tree and the Exalted Angel tree. So you will need to actually level enough in your Divine Crusader destiny, and then that point, you'll be able to go to one of the surrounding destinies. So once you've gotten enough levels, you can go to, let's say, the Unyielding Sentinel destiny. So once you've gotten a certain number of destiny levels in that, you can move on to the connecting destiny in the tree, which is the Grand Master of Flowers tree. Get you over to Marshall. Then you work your way like this through all the trees. So you've got to actually play in these destinies before you can actually access certain levels of the tree, and until you work your way around the whole map here and actually get to all the different destinies. So let's say you start in Divine Crusader, it's going to be a long time before you can get over to the Fury of the Wild tree, for example. So you have to actually grind your way in. You're forced to play in these other destinies in order to get access to everything. So you might ask yourself, let's say you're running a melee cleric or a paladin or something. Let's say you want to run primarily in the Divine Crusader tree. You might ask yourself, well, why do I even care to work my way through this tree? I just want to play in the Divine Crusader tree. Well, there's a lot of reasons why. There's actually requirements to gain access to certain feats. So certain feats require a certain number of capped destinies to gain access to them. Here are some examples. Also, we have a Twist of Fate mechanic with Epic Destiny. So what Twists of Fate do is they allow you to take certain abilities in other trees. So let's say you're running in Divine Crusader, but maybe you want a tier 4 ability from Fury of the Wild. You need to actually level a certain number of Epic Destinies and actually get around to Fury of the Wild and actually gain up to at least tier 4 in Fury of the Wild if you want to actually twist a tier 4 ability from Fury of the Wild into your character. And you gain your fate points in part by gaining Epic Destiny levels, capping destinies, and such. You also get some in other ways, like there's tomes. You get some at certain levels, but they are not solely tied to your character's level. So in order to actually improve your character, you have to actually play, and you're actually forced to play in suboptimal destinies, assuming you don't want to reincarnate and do some of that in other classes and builds and such. But if you're not playing to reincarnate your character, you're actually forced to actually play in suboptimal destinies in order to advance your character. This also leads us into Epic Reincarnation. So Epic Reincarnation is a form of reincarnation that brings your character from 30 to 20. And the way Epic Reincarnation works is in order to have gain access to a certain feat. So let's say again that you're playing your melee cleric and you want to primarily run in Divine Crusader. Well, if you want, say, the double strike past life, which is a martial pass epic past life, you have to actually do that by accumulating karma in the martial sphere. So what does this mean? This means that if you want to gain access to that past life, you cannot just stay in Divine Crusader. You have to actually go into the martial sphere and gain 6 million karma, which is equivalent to 6 million experience points running in a martial destiny. So in order to gain certain epic past lives, you have to gain karma in the tree that the past life resides. So if you want to gain martial past lives, you have to actually run in a martial destiny. If you want to gain arcane past lives, you actually have to run in an arcane destiny. So you're actually, in many ways, in this way in particular, and in other ways I've described already, you are forced to kind of run your character in suboptimal destiny. So this is really my main criticism of Epic Destinies, and I really wish they would get rid of this mechanic because, one, it's just not fun. It's not fun to run your fighter in, say, in Arcane Destiny. It's not fun to run your arcane character in a martial destiny. It's not something that's fun. It's Epic Destinies are unique in this way. So in DDO and really any MMO, progression is linear, right? You have this slow curve just like this, to where you slowly over time make your character better. Every level your character gets a little bit better, and it's just a steady, consistent curve up in power. But Epic Destinies don't work this way. You have to actually make your character worse in order to make your character better. So the curve has peaks and valleys, and that's just not fun. It's something that I really have a problem with because it's not satisfying, and I think it's a barrier to entry for a lot of new players. Have to actually run these characters, not really for Epic Reincarnation, because Epic Reincarnation is optional, but in order to advance your character, whether it's gaining fate points or actually capping your destinies, you have to actually run your character in suboptimal destinies. So what's the first thing we can do with this problem? Well, let's just get rid of these requirements. Epic Reincarnation, first of all. Instead of requiring you to level in certain spheres, let's just make the only requirement to Epic Reincarnate to be at level 30. I hope they make this change. When you're level 30, you can claim any epic past life. You don't have to level in a certain destiny at all. I think that would be a great change. It would mean that characters are no longer forced to run in off destinies that aren't fun. Now, I want to say as a side note, I think part of the design intent here originally was that characters would constantly, players as they epic reincarnate, or TR or whatever, that they would jump into other different builds that would benefit more from a certain sphere. So let's say, again, you're running a human cleric, for example. Maybe instead of running in divine, you would maybe have more of a offensive castery build that might do okay in an arcane sphere. And I think certain spheres, there are trees that do offer something, or certain spheres that offer something for each archetype, I think. So like melee, for example, there's a melee tree like Divine Crusader. In the Divine Sphere, you have, say, Legendary Dreadnought and Martial. You have Fury of the Wild and Primal. Granted, Arcane doesn't really have much as far as melee, but you do have a lot of spheres that actually do help this by actually offering at least something that kind of jives. But you still are in this phase of just making your character worse before they can progress. So let's just get rid of all that, and let's just make it so the only requirement to Epic Reincarnate is level 30. Another thing I want to see changed is these feat requirements for some of these feats, like you can see on the screen here. Let's just get rid of these requirements. Why do we need those requirements in order to take the feat? There's no reason for it. Let's just get rid of that. Now, as far as access to the trees, this is where it's a little trickier, because I also want to see them get rid of this Epic Destiny grind. When it comes to the initial Epic Destiny grind, when it comes to actually being able to access the different trees, let's just make you be able to access all of the trees whenever you want, right from the start. Let's not require you to grind and gain a certain number of levels in destinies you don't want to run in. It's not fun. It's just a barrier to entry for alts and new players. Let's just get rid of that. Let's just make it just like heroic enhancements. I say honestly, in most ways, the more it can be like the heroic enhancements, the better. So let's just make it so right off the bat, you can go into any Epic Destiny that you want. And now, how are they going to, this is the question. So how are they going to tie your action points? Are they going to tie that? Like right now, the way it works is you basically, once you've grinded out your destinies, you get to keep that. And right when you get to level 20, you have all your action points. This differs from heroics, whereas you gain action points in heroics as you advance in levels. So this is trickier because I think what they may have to do here to make this work is actually tie all that to character level. So they're gonna have a couple options here. So they can either give you all your action points to you at level 20 like we have currently and drop all the requirements. I think that's what players would like most. But it completely eliminates any kind of progression from 20 to 30, except when it comes to things we already have now, like gaining new feats and ability points and things like that. But it eliminates any kind of enhancement progression over time from 20 to 30. We don't have that now, granted, but it is something that heroics have as you gain levels, and it's something, if we're going to make epic levels work more like heroics, they might want to consider. So they could have two options here: either just give you everything at level 20, or tie these to character level and have you gain action points in your epic destinies as you advance. This will probably have some pushback from players if they go this route, which I've seen in prior discussions. It sounds, if I was a betting man, I would bet that they're probably going to go this direction, because this is going to allow them basically to progress. You're going to progress your character more evenly. It's going to be more of that straight slope rather than you getting this huge burst of power at level 20. So what they might do is say, okay, you have a certain number of action points. You can go to any tree, but you only have a certain number of action points at level 20, and you'll gain more action points as you get to level 21, 22, 23, 24, and so on, and you'll have all your action points once you get to level 30. This will, and the big downside of this that some players aren't going to like if they go this direction, is that this will make epic past lives harder. It will make reincarnating, doing iconic past lives, whatever, harder. Anything that's not just a 20 to back to 1 past life, anything that involves going from 30 to 20 or 30 to 15 with iconics, it will make it harder, because you will not gain as much power at your throughout levels 20 to 29. You're going to lose some power. So that's a downside. They could do some kind of hybrid in that you get approach where you get maybe like half of your points at level 20 and then gain the rest of them through character level or through epic levels as you go through. They could do something like that. We'll see what approach they take. Probably a hybrid approach is probably what they'll try to do, if I had to guess, because it might kind of reduce the rage from players and kind of maybe meet players in the middle a little bit, because the players are not going to be happy with losing all that power at level 20. So Epic Destinies as a whole, I think that the system is antiquated. I think it might, I've never really been a fan of it, but I think that it made sense, the grind in the Epic Destinies at one point. So when cap was level 25 was cap, it did kind of make sense. We didn't have things like Reaper mode being this long permanent grind that Reaper mode is. We didn't have that. Well, not permanent, but a very, very long grind. We didn't have a really long grind in game, but definitely today at 30, I think Epic Destiny system, all the grind it has in it really just serves to split alts, disincentivize alts, and really adds to the gap between established players and new players. I don't see the reason why you should force characters at this point to play in Destinies that are unoptimal for the character and play in Destinies that they don't want. I say just get rid of this arbitrary grind. A grind is something that you do need in DDO, but I think we have plenty of grind replacements. Like I think Reaper enhancement, Reaper points especially are the primary grind in long-term grind in DDO right now, and I think that's enough grind, and we don't need the additional grind that Epic Destinies have. So let's just get rid of all that. So will this actually happen? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. We did get a store item recently called the Call of Destiny, which basically what this does is it reduces the Epic Destiny grind of grinding off Destinies by letting you run in a Destiny you want and still earn Destiny and earn experience karma in an off Destiny. So for example, if you are a fighter and you want to run in a martial Destiny, you can use this if you need your Arcane Destinies grind out and still be able to run in Dreadnought or whatever, and still gain your karma in your Arcane Sphere. So if they make these types of changes that I want to see them make, they will have to actually get rid of that store item, which I would imagine they're making some money off of. But I hope they are willing to give that up, because I think that the grind will do a lot more good for the game if they just get rid of this grind and kind of reduce some of these barriers, especially that are preventing helping prevent new players and alts from kind of joining in with the mainstream DDO veteran crowd. So yeah, all in all, let's tie more stuff to character level. Let's get rid of the Epic Destiny grind. Let's let you have access to any sphere you want. Let's get rid of the requirements of having certain cap destinies to take certain feats. Let's get rid of making us run in suboptimal destinies to progress and make our characters better by making them worse before they can get better. Let's get rid of the karma system entirely. Let's get rid of karma and make it so level 30 is the only requirement before you can ETR, Epic Reincarnate. That's what I want to see. We'll see what they do. Probably we're getting a preview. As I mentioned, it was mentioned in the Wednesday live stream this past week that we're probably going to see next week our first look on Lamania. So we will see very soon if they end up making some of these changes that I want to see. This video isn't all inclusive. Like, it's not everything I want to see. This is just the biggest things I want to see. But let me know below what you think, what you want to see from the Epic Destiny Pass. And I would be interested in reading that as always. Guys, as a reminder, I am streaming a lot on Twitch lately. Not just DDO, I'm also streaming a lot of retro games and some modern games and stuff. So if you want to check me out on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/AxelAlexK. I will link that below in the description. I hope to see you over there. That's going to be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good one and take care.